The goddess from his world mistakenly caused Kelvin to die and be reincarnated into another world by the Goddess of Reincarnation. Despite his affection for her, he'll have no memories of her or his previous life due to reincarnation. As a plus, however, he'll receive an assortment of new skills to use in the new world as a trade-off for his reincarnation. Awakening in the forest, a menu pops up in front of Kelvin that relays a message from the Goddess of Reincarnation detailing his reincarnation situation, the world he's in, and his status. Looking at the stats on the menu, he finds out that he's a summoner. The menu suggests heading to the nearby town and registering as an adventurer, with this being at the Adventurers Guild. Wasting no time, the two head to the nearby town, and Kelvin learns that his pre-reincarnation self added the Goddess of Reincarnation as something he tamed, much to his chagrin, with the goddess mentioning that he found her to be his type, so she intends to live with him in this new world. Arriving in the town of Parth, Kelvin reveals how Melfina became the Goddess of Reincarnation, and how he convinced her to become his tamed companion. It's also revealed that Kelvin gave up his previous life memories in exchange for more skill points. He then asks if he'd be able to summon her. However, Melina reveals that Kelvin is unable to do so, as the MP level isn't adequate yet. Soon Kelvin talks to the guild receptionist at the Lively Adventurers Guild. Kelvin can read and write in this new world, with him thanking his understanding of language and literacy skills, and he's able to register himself into the guild. To avoid attracting attention from the nation's lords because of his title being Summoner, Kelvin puts himself down as a green mage. Once registered as an F-rank adventurer, the receptionist discloses the guild's ranking system and other pertinent information. For his first job, Kelvin chooses to hunt down some blue slimes. Afterwards, Kelvin purchases a wooden rod from a weapons store and heads to the grassy plain outside of Parth in search of the blue slimes. Upon finding some, Kelvin uses his S-rank Praising Eye on learning their status. He learns from Melfina he must get the monster's consent by weakening them. Kelvin decides not to use his magic and instead uses a wooden rod to attack them. However, this system fails and it causes him to get struck in the stomach by one of the slimes. Despite this, Kelvin continues to try and fight and is soon able to make a contract with one of the slimes. Kelvin names his first slime companion Clotho and learns he can communicate with his companions through wordless contact. Calling the skill Servant Network, Kelvin summons Clotho and with his help feeds the slimes in the area. He returns back to the town with enough gold to get a room, with him staying at an inn. Kelvin takes a detour down an alleyway and finds a slave trader showcasing his slaves for sale. One of them catches his eye, that being the half-blooded elf, but he pays no mind to it and leaves. Later, Kelvin goes back to his room at the Spirit Song Inn, enjoying a meal there. The following day, Kelvin goes on a monster hunting spree with Clotho. At the Adventurers Guild, Kelvin learns from Angie that he's been promoted to an E-rank adventurer, but she expresses her concern for him taking on higher-ranking missions without forming a party. This was mainly due because Kelvin was hiding his summoner ability to avoid drawing any unnecessary attention to himself. Noting that Kelvin will be vying for D-rank next, Angie advises him to upgrade his equipment before he makes the necessary steps towards his new goal. Acknowledging her advice, Kelvin asks to take on a D-rank quest. It's then that an adventurer named Cashel suggests that he form a party with him to take on the Black Ghost Knight. After his chat with Angie on a recent successful mission, Cashel introduces himself to Kelvin as a D-rank adventurer. A conversation from some of the adventurers in the guild reveals that Cashel has the strength to become a B-rank adventurer and is known as the Rookie Crusher. Cashel offers Kelvin to join his party. However, Angie admonishes it, and when Cashel still insists, Kelvin uses his appraisal eye on Cashel to learn that his stats and his ominous title. So in light of this, Kelvin suggests they have a competition between them on who can defeat the Black Ghost Knight first. Cashel accepts the terms with a tad of reluctancy and leaves as Kelvin plots on how he's going to handle the situation. Cashel regroups outside the guild with his two shady party members, Gimel and Raj. Gimel informs Cashel of Kelvin's stats and skills, and the other member, Raj, is ordered to be the gentleman and go fight Kelvin. However, he refuses to be the gentleman and proclaims that he'll handle it his own way. Around dusk, inside the Wicked Spirit's castle, Cashel's group reaches the castle hallway just before the throne room, where they find the bodies of undead skeletons scattered across the floor. Kelvin comes out of hiding with his verdant staff in his hand, and Cashel's group internalizes this, deciding that he's a wind mage, wondering how they're going to handle him. However, Kelvin calls out the group, knowing that they've been hunting down adventurers. In turn, they believe that Kelvin's after the bounty on Cashel's party members. Uninterested in that, Kelvin taunts the group, making Raj step forward, and when he tries to attack him, he only falls down to a swampy floor, this being the trap called Mud Vine. Cashel deduces that Kelvin can cast a spell using his concealment skill. Gimel fearfully flees, only to be confronted by a recent involved Clotho. A flashback reveals that after Kelvin killed enough monsters, Clotho evolved from a blue slime to a slime gluttony. Back in the present, Clotho easily defeats Gimel, and then Raj escapes his swampy confines, only to be restricted by Clotho, and Cashel's dealt with by Kelvin. who deduces his motives for hunting down adventurers, tying them all up. Wasting no further time, Kelvin heads into the room where the Black Ghost Knight stood. After using his appraisal eye on him, he learns that his name was Gerald, as well as seeing his stats and skills. After he observes Gerald's skills, Kelvin notes out his interest in recruiting him. This leads to the two of them having a civil conversation, and Kelvin learns a bit more about Gerald and how he became a monster, with him wanting to make a contract with Gerald. Kelvin duels with him. During the fight, Gerald recalls the memories of the Fallen Kingdom, with this being the kingdom he once served, Alcar. This all started back when the elven emissary from a western continent named Dildora came to ask his king if he could join the Elysia Empire and destroy the Empire of Deramis. His king refused the offer, but Dildora warned of consequences of refusing the offer. The kingdom fell into ruin shortly after, and Gerald's wife Betty and daughter Connie passed away. Back in the present, Gerald vows to avenge his land, which keeps him in the realm of the living. However, Kelvin defeats him with the combined efforts of Clotho, and he accepts the contract. The next day, Kelvin goes to Adventurers Guild to mark the quest of the Black Ghost Knight as complete, and learns that Cashel's group has been imprisoned and they're set to be executed. As Kelvin is celebrating his accomplishment, Angie informs him that he's been promoted even further by the Guildmaster. On top of the stairway, Kelvin runs into the finely dressed old man. Kelvin meets the Guildmaster of the Parse Adventurers Guild named Leo, and he tries to use his appraisal eye on him, but he can't see anything. Within the Guildmaster's room, Kelvin is served some tea by Leo as they start to discuss Kelvin's accomplishments in subjugating the Black Ghost Knight and revealing that Cashel's insubordination of killing adventurers. However, Leo asks Kelvin is he from another world, and after some time, he shortly admits to being so. Since they're now on speaking terms, he asks Leo why did he do nothing about Cashel and his shady involvement with killing adventurers. To that point, Leo confesses that he couldn't lay a finger on Cashel because he's a noble, with him coming from the militant nation of Tricin, and he needed some solid proof towards his claims. Getting right to the point of the conversation, Leo expresses a desire to become friends with Kelvin, noting that he knows other worlders in his past, them being the heroes of the Holy Empire, Deramis. Melfina notes that she was the one that reincarnated these people, and promises to tell Kelvin more about them later on, if he's curious. Leo continues his explanation about the heroes of Deramis, claiming that the priestess therefore told the revival of the Demon Lord, and Kelvin deduces that Leo wants him to protect this town instead of the heroes, since they're going to be busy, and Leo confirms this. Leo goes over a list of some inciting incentives for agreeing to his terms, and Kelvin does so. Afterwards, the innkeeper Claire congratulates Kelvin on reaching B rank in the guild. As he's enjoying his lunch in his room, Kelvin has Melfina disclose the information about the heroes of Deramis. Her information of the heroes was vague, and they were chosen due to their good looks and knowledge. After hearing this, Kelvin decides to retrieve his reward money, Clotho, and head over to the alleyway where he saw the slaves being sold. Kelvin intended to enhance his party's strength with a rear guard. That's because the slave's master has complete control of where the slave's skill points are being allocated towards. Upon reaching the alleyway, Kelvin spots the half-elf from the other day. The slave trader reveals that nobody wishes to purchase her due to her having a curse that burns anyone who touches her. With him getting more information about the curse, he gives it off to Melfina to explain that it's the Fire Dragon King's curse, and that the only way to break it is an A-rank white magic spell called Sacred Bless. After leaving the scene, Kelvin later returns and purchases the half-elf named Elful, with whom start to get more acquainted with each other midway through the return back to the inn. During this time, Kelvin starts to cast the Sacred Bless onto Elful, breaking the curse. Afterwards, Claire has Elful dressed in a maid's outfit back at the inn, and they both start to enjoy cooking dinner. Later in Kelvin's room, Elful is told of Kelvin's secret origins, about allocating her skill points to her choosing. However, there's a wrench in their plan, as they now have to share a bed, causing Kelvin to experience a sleepless night. A month later, the two start to explore the dark purple forest and subjugate many of the monsters, allowing Elful to level up and gain new skills and abilities. Later that day, Kelvin goes back to the Adventurers Guild to report that the Wicked Sage Tree has been successfully completed. With Angie congratulating them, she also informs them that one more successful quest will allow them to take on the rank up exam. It would allow Kelvin to be a rank A adventurer and Elful a rank B adventurer. But after a brief chat with Elful's last exam, Angie invites Elful to go shopping with her. Elful asks Kelvin if he can come along, with Kelvin agreeing to the invitation. Eventually, Kelvin meets up with Angie outside of the fountain, and they soon are joined by Elful, who wore a beautiful dress that Kelvin compliments her on, with this being thanks to Angie's pushy nature. Later they sit down at a table after purchasing some sweets, and Elful tries to feed Kelvin some of her cake. The act draws a small crowd of men commenting on the situation, which Kelvin has to clarify, with Angie doing the same thing, feeding him a sweet roll, drawing even more attention to him. Kelvin tries to handle the situation, but is interrupted by Tabra, the third prince of Tricin. With him having two of his guards around, one of the guards suggests that Tabra should use his position as a noble to discipline Kelvin for his lowly commoner status. Topper also takes interest in Ethel and offers to forgive him if he hands over the ladies. Kelvin then quickly deals with the two guards and then uses a gravity spell on Topper while asking him why is he here in Parth. Overwhelmed by Kelvin's skill, Topper claims that he's here to meet with Leo about adding a strong adventurer to accompany him. Topper planned to have this adventurer serve him, and Kelvin reveals that he must be that adventurer, with him refusing to serve him. Once that's settled, Kelvin suggests to go shopping some more. At the Holy Empire of Daramus, the Great Cathedral, Priestess Coletti prays to the statue of Melfina, asking for audience with her. Melfina answers her prayer, and Coletta gives her an update on the heroes of Daramus. Pleased by the news, Melfina gives Colette an oracle that the heroes need to go examine the evil of the Western continent and stay far away from Parth. Once that is over, the heroes arrive to the scene, and Colette relays the oracle they received from the goddess. That night back at the inn, Ethel thanks Kelvin for helping them that day, and Kelvin thinks nothing of it, but apologizes for them having to share a bed, with this leading to a heart-to-heart conversation, with Ethel feeling inadequate that he hasn't done anything yet, wanting to know Kelvin's taste in women, with Kelvin having to explain. The following day, Kelvin reveals the stats of the heroes' party, with Gerald, Clotho, and Ethel, with them all coming to a unanimous decision that the heroes' levels are far too low to be acceptable. Kelvin's content that he successfully created a staff from the monster materials that were dropped, but it's said that he had many failures leading up to this. Gerald notes that Kelvin has created a dreadnought shield and a crimson cape for him. Ethel then notes that she created a black sage robe for Kelvin, using her sewing ability. Claire then knocks on the door to inform Kelvin that the guild wants to speak with him. In the Guildmaster's room, Leo informs Kelvin that a D-rank dungeon called the Hermit's Cave has a secret room in there, with it containing a powerful demon inside of it. Leo also mentions that the third Prince of Trison had an incident earlier, asking Kelvin if he knows anything about it, and then asking Kelvin if he could accept the quest, with Kelvin feeling that he needs to accept the quest. Afterwards, Kelvin's accompanied by Ethel and Gerald, with them visiting the Hermit's Cave dungeon, and learn from Erd about the situation surrounding the dungeon. The group enters the dungeon, and once they reach the secret room, they find a demon woman chained to a monolith. Another demon is sitting on top of a pile of bones, introducing himself as Archdemon Victor. Kelvin then asks who the chained woman is, and Victor responds while sealing off the room, with this being the Demon Lord's daughter. Melfina then informs Kelvin that there were once 3 Demon Lords in the past, and that lady must be the current daughter of the Demon Lord. Kelvin then claims that Gustav didn't have any children, and Victor informs them that Gustav didn't officially have children, therefore, with them planning to eat and absorb their power. Victor lunges towards the group, but Gerald protects him with a shield. Melfina then comments on how Kelvin's nasty habit has come out again, and Gerald agrees. The habit is that Kelvin smiles every time he's facing a strong opponent, with him being a secret battle junkie. So this is where we leave off in today's video. If you like today's video, here's one just like it, so go check it out. I'll break down this anime into multiple parts. Now if you like this video, why not subscribe to the channel? I'll be uploading daily videos just like this one. So see you next time.